three pieces. I don't know if they're necessarily, actually, three pieces. I don't know if they're necessarily related, but we'll see. So the first piece, number one, is from Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. We have the meeting of Yaakov and Esav at the beginning of the Parsha. I mean, Esav is coming with, Yaakov is coming with, to impress, Esav's coming with his entire entourage. And he's coming to make war with Yaakov. He wants to destroy Yaakov. So Esav, we're going to see a little bit how Esav deals with him, how Yaakov deals with Esav, and successfully. And here's the first item. The pasuk says that Yaakov says to Esav, "Ki al kain ra'isi panecha ki ros panei Elokim v'tirtzeini." When I see your face, I see an angel. I see God. You know, you remind me of an angel, right? So Rashi explains what he means. Ki kedai v'hagon lecha shetekabel minchati. It's really worth your while to accept the present from me. Al asher ra'iti panecha v'hein chashuvim li kariyat panei hamalach. When I see your face, it's like I'm seeing an angel. Shira'iti sar shelcha. But when he said, what does it mean? I saw your guardian angel, right? We know that he was coming. He had a fight with the guardian angel of Esav. And that's the origin. He wounded him, and that's why he limped when he left. That's the Gita Nasha we're all familiar with, that we don't eat because of that. But he defeated him. Yeah, he defeated him. And just really an aside, I want to mention during that battle. It's okay. I did not start early, but you're late. It's okay. So let me backtrack for a minute. The fight of Yaakov and Esav. So he wounds Yaakov, but Yaakov has him in a stranglehold, and he pleads to let him go. Why does he plead to let him go? So Rashi says because he had to say Shira. The Malachim said Shira, and he had to go. It was his time to say Shira to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to daven. You know, let me go. I have to daven. I have to say Shira, right? That's very strange, because Shira for Malachim is said at night, not during the day, because of the kavod that the Malachim give to Bnei Yisrael. We're busy davening during the day, so they say their Shira at night. So this was in the morning. This was during the daytime. So how do we understand this? So first of all, I mean, the Marsha and the Gemara says that he was the Sarashal Esav, and this was his time now. He was busy, so but it doesn't matter. But what is Shira? The word Shira means a link, like Sharsheret is a chain. Sharsheret from the word Shira. So Shira is a link. The whole idea of Shira is everything that Chazal say, that everything that comes, every communication from the Ribono Shalom, from Shemayim, is done with Shira. What does that mean? Because Shira is a link. It's a link between the Ribono Shalom and Klal Yisrael. That when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, and his idea was to create a link that we should have an intimate relationship with him, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So he gave us that link. So Shira is, we're kind of returning the favor, right? That we're singing back to the Ribono Shalom our praise and our thankfulness for what he has done for us. Okay, why that puts his Shira now in the daytime rather than the nighttime is because we had not yet been given our our walking orders to do Shira in the daytime. So he could still say Shira in the daytime, right? We were not given that order. Okay, that's just an aside. Anyway, here we have a very fascinating psychological statement, an exercise in brilliant psychology from Yaakov. He says, you remind me of an angel. I mean, Sheraiti panecha v'hen chashuv, you look like a malach. Sheraiti sar shlecha, but I saw your angel. I saw your guiding angel when I fought with him. So you look like him. So here, v'lama hizkir lo riyat hamalach. Why did he mention the sighting of the angel? Kadesha yityareh hayamenu. He wanted him to be a little nervous, right? There's multiple things being said here. He tells him you look like an angel, you look angelic. Then he tells him you actually look like your guiding angel, you have a guiding angel, right? But that kind of, he wants us, he has the power. My brother Yaakov has the power to see an angel. So there's a kind of a third interpretation already. And he was saved, v'nitzal. Eini yachol lo me'ata. So Rashi concludes the statement, I can't win with him. If he saw my malach and he defeated him, I'm in big trouble. So, l'chura, actually Rashi says, Yaakov says, Shtei ma'amorim sotrim lefanenu. There are two contradictory statements that he says. Actually, there are really three. Daha lefi pshuto shel mikra, the simple text of what he said. Mashehiskir lo inyan hamalach, he mentioned the malach. Hayam mishum sheratza lekabdo, he wanted to honor him. You look like an angel, right? V'hainu kemoshe hitchil Rashi lefaresh, Rashi says at the beginning, shepanecha chashuvim li kiriyat pnei malach. It's like I see a malach. V'imkein, mazeh shesayim Rashi, why does Rashi add shehiskir lo and hamalach, that he mentioned Esav's guiding angel, that I saw him, mishum sheratza la'afchido, he wanted to put the fear of the Lord into him, right? Contradictory messages. Harizeu davar v'hefucho, right? They're opposite messages. Amnam, so he's referring to something he said once before, which I don't think we've done here, but biarti b'chidushai, I've said before, lahalan, actually in Vayigash, maybe we'll do it when we get to Vayigash, shebechol dibur shel adam yeshno pshat v'drush. When a person speaks, you've got what he's saying and what he means to say, right? Kilomar, sha'av shelafi pshat. It's true that what he's saying to him, but there's like a subliminal message. You know, when you speak, you're not lying, but you'll say something that really, what does he really mean by this? You know, there seems to be an implication in what he's saying, right? And a person has that ability to say something, to make a statement that has multiple meanings. In all of our interpersonal relations, sometimes you read a statement from the government, right? The last over the year, we've been reading statements from the government, United States government, how the statement is made, and what does he mean by that? Why isn't it said this way? You see that that's really not what they're saying. Yeah, we know what this is all about. So that's what Yaakov was doing. Kolom sha'af lefi pshat shel ma'amoro amnam hiskir inyan hamalach kedei lechabdo. Even though he meant to honor him, I see you look like angelic. Mikol makom b'midrasho, the drush kilomar. When you go into the words of what he said, he was afraid of him. My brother can sit with angels. I'm in big trouble, right? So that's really a psychological point that Yaakov, Rabbi Yaakov is suggesting that Yaakov actually meant all of these things. He had all of these messages to give to him in these few words. Okay, that's one way he was starting to shake him up. Now, then the Torah says Vayit 2. This is from the Oznaim LaTorah. Oznaim LaTorah was Rav Sorotskin, a Rav in Lithuania who came to Eretz Yisrael around the time of the founding of the state. And he wrote a sefer Oznaim LaTorah, beautiful sefer. Vayili Shor v'Chamor. So Yaakov tells Esav, he's busy telling Esav, I have Shor v'Chamor, and all the animals that he came with, and multiple kinds of animals that he came with. He's very wealthy, Yaakov, right? He's telling his messengers, go tell this to Yaakov, you go ahead of me, and tell him that all of these animals, he's going to ask you, what is all this? This is the entourage of my master, your brother, and he sent me to you, right? And he says to him later on when he talks to him, so he's sending him all this wealth. He's showing all this wealth. Again, we're having multiple messages being sent, not subliminal, but actual messages sent, an audio-visual aid. So here's the visual that he's showing him his wealth. And then the audio. He says to him later on, Im Lavan Garti. He asked him, what have you been doing? He says, I lived with Lavan. Lavan was a Russia, right? Our relative, right? Pirush Rashi, the famous Rashi, Im Lavan Garti, V'taryag mitzvah shamarti. Even though I lived with Lavan, I kept all the 613 mitzvahs. Tema. Why is he telling him this? What is it? What is this? V'lo Esav sonei Yehudi ashir yoter me'ani. That doesn't Esav hates a wealthy person more than a poor person. V'chared l'dvar Hashem, a poor religious person, right? He doesn't. Who cares? What do I care that you kept the Torah? I'm interested that you kept the Torah. What's he telling him? Kemo chavshi ve'ech ze yimtza Yaakov chen b'nei Esav. How is this going to raise the respect that Esav has, the fear that Esav has for Yaakov, by telling him that he kept all the Taryag mitzvahs by Lavan? Al Yidei Sheyishma Shenitasher. First of all, tells him that he's wealthy. So this is he's getting him. I'm going to get him angry, right? Doesn't mean that he's getting him angry. I have all this money. V'shu shomer Torah. I say I have all this money. I'm rich, and yet I keep the Torah. What are these messages? What is this all about? The wealth should shake him up, right? But the Torah is meaningless. Okay. V'chein kash, it's also hard to understand. Lama aleim lomar le'esav. Why did they say to Esav, im lavan garti, ve'echar ad ata. I was there for a long time. I was there for a long time by Lavan, 20 years, right? Hello, advarim ha'eli yeduyim em le'esav. He knew that. Esav knew this. He knew where he was. He knew where he was coming from. So now he offers a fascinating understanding. Again, messages that Yaakov is sending to Esav, right, to put down his sword. Venerally, I want to suggest, Shahabrachot, Shabirach Yitzchak et Yaakov, the blessings, the brachas that Yitzchak gave gave brachas both to Yaakov and to Esav, right? The brachas that he gave to Yaakov, Bishvilan radaf oto Esav, and really that's why Esav was going to kill him, right? Because at the end of the day, he got the Bechorah, right? So I want to kill him, right? I want to take this away from him. Really, the brachas mitchaleket lebeit sugim. There are two kinds of brachas that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave them. Aleph, hamavtichot parnasa. He promised him wealth. Shefa va'ashirut. An abundance of wealth. Quote, Vayitein lecha Elokim mitala shamayim. God's going to give you from the dew of the heavens, and mishmanei aretz, the fat of the earth, v'rov dagan v'tirosh. You're going to have the best of everything, right? Two, he promised him kavod umemshala. He promised him power and dominion. Yavducha amim. The nations of the world are going to serve you, Yaakov. And the children of your mother are going to bow down to you. The brachas that Yitzchak gave Esav also, he named Mishnei Sugi Mela. They were also of these two similar ideas. Aleph, he named Mishmanei Haaretz Yeh Moshavecha. You'll be living in an area that is abundant and rich and will give you all kinds of wealth. Umitala shamayim al. You'll get also the dew from heaven. And secondly, you will live by the sword. You'll work for your brother, but in the end, it said, the pasuk says that you'll hold him by his neck, right? Doesn't bring the whole pasuk. Ufarachta alav me'altzav arech. He says, right? You're gonna defeat him. Va'ata. Now go to the second column, but there's just somehow 2 lines that are missing here. I'm just going to tell you what he says. Va'ata now, shalach Yaakov al yedei malachim. So Yaakov sends with the malachim, his angels, his representatives, to Esav. Lemor le'Esav, to tell Esav, shehu roeh shechelik rishon mibirchotav shel Yitzchak. That the first. Now we're back into the text. The first part of the blessing of Yitzchak, brachot haparnasa v'hashefa, the bracha of wealth, she'ein behen stirot v'charotot. There's no stira here. You're wealthy, I'm wealthy, right? In other words, the fact that he promised us a blessing of wealth is not one person is going to be wealthy to the expense of the other. The fact that I'm wealthy, but you see, you're wealthy too. We're both wealthy. So what's the problem? You have wealth, right? It's not to the exclusion that I'm going to be wealthy to the exclusion of you. So my bracha is no better than yours. You're also wealthy, right? Shari Sharsha Yeshneim Yaakov Esav, both of them, Ashirim umushpaim b'parnasah. They can both be wealthy. So that's what he wanted to show him. He wanted to show him that, right? V'nitkaimu b'shneim. We both have it. V'Yaakov v'yihili shor v'chamor. I have so much cattle and so on. V'chein be'esav. Shahariu ba'atzma amar ba'achakach. What did Esav say afterwards? Yeshli rav achi. I have much. I have a great deal. Right? Ki haya ruchusham rav. He had a tremendous amount of wealth. Aval achelik hasheni. But the second bracha, the spiritual bracha, right? The bracha of Torah, right? The bracha of power, we should say. Birchat hasrarot. The bracha of power and dominion, right? That we'll both have. Mikivan sheyesh bo nigudim v'stirot v'tanaim lo nitkayem b'Yaakov. I'm going to show him that I didn't get the bracha of power. I didn't get this power, right? 2 brachas were, so I made a mistake. It's not the spirituality, but the 2 brachas was parnosa, was wealth, and the other was dominion and power. I had problems here. I didn't really get power, right? Why? Shahare im Lavan garti. I lived with Lavan, right? He was my master. I worked for him, right? Where's the power in that I worked for Lavan? V'lo na'asiti sar v'chashuv. I didn't become a prince or an important person. I was a shepherd. I was a worker for Lavan. Afalpi she'avi berchani, even though our father blessed me, v'yishtachavu lecha b'nei emecha, that the sons of your mother will bow down to you. Didn't happen. V'Lavan ubefrat banav, Lavan and his sons, heim bichlal, they were included in this. That the mother's children will bow down to you, right? V'afal pikein hayiti sham ger, but I was a stranger there. I was a stranger and an employee. V'shem atomar, you're going to tell me, shabirchat hasrarut haita al tanai, that the bracha of dominion and power was conditional. Im eshmor et Torah, if I keep the Torah, then I'll have power. You're going to tell me, yeah, but you got a bracha of power if you keep the Torah. Aval v'taryag mitzvah shamarti. Look, that's why he tells him this strange thing. I kept the whole Torah, right? Af b'shasha garti im Lavan. Even the time I lived with Lavan. So I got nothing from it. I got nothing. You're going to tell me, B'im tomar shayiti etzlo zman muat. Maybe you were only a short time by Lavan, right? V'lo hi spikulim hamlicheni aleihem, right? No, he couldn't. He didn't have dominion over me. I got out of there. No. I was there for 20 years. Yashavti mahem kaf shana. I was 20 years by Lavan. V'shamarti at Torah, and I kept the Torah. V'nisharti ger v'roa tzon Lavan, and I remained a stranger and a shepherd of Lavan's flock. So what are you worried about? I have no dominion. I have no power. You have the power. I have no power. Umizeh raya shahabracha b'chalka sheni. The second part of the bracha, the srarut, va'avdut, the power and the dominion, shel avinu lo nitkaima bi. I never got this bracha. I got the bracha of riches, but so did you. So we're equal, right? So what? The fact that I'm rich doesn't affect you. But the power, I have no power. Mibnei hastiras v'hanigudim shebo, because of everything I had to go through. Umemela ein lecha lintor li eva ala brachot. So you shouldn't feel badly about the brachas. You won. What do you need this for? Ukeach tzair hineni avdecha. I am like your younger brother. Hakore lecha adon. I call you Adon. That's the message he sent. Adon, Adoncha. V'hadeya hazot, this knowledge, shebirchat Yitzchak liYaakov ve'esav b'nogei lekavod v'srarut, the bracha about dominion and power, lo nitkaimu. It didn't happen by me. Didn't happen by me. Shehishtadel Yaakov lahashrisha be'esav. That you know, I was supposed to have dominion over you. Didn't happen. Did it happen? Yesh bo gam mishum ium le'esav. Shalo yismach al charbo. He's telling him, put your sword down. What are you going to fight me for? What do you need this for? Right? Shebracha birchas Yitzchak. Right? Shahari ein mamash bebirchat hakavod v'hagdula shel Yitzchak. There's nothing, no big deal here. Umemeli yesh lo lachush l'chom im Yaakov shehu gibor kamo. So what do you want to start up with me for? Don't start up with me because I can actually fight back, right? So interesting. You see all the psychology that's going on here between the Osnaim, the Torah, and Rabbi Yaakov. You see all the psychology that Yaakov used with Esav. Okay. All right. Now the last piece we're going to do is the tefillah of Yaakov when he dove into the Ribono Shalom to help him. Right. So this is from the Sefer Kanfei Yonim, actually my Sefer on Parshat in Hebrew, and here we're talking about the tefillah of Yaakov to the Ribono Shalom to help him. Now he's being threatened by Esav, as we've been discussing. So he says to Ribono Shalom, the whole pasuk is not here, but the pasuk is Katanti mikol hachasadim umikol ha'emet asher asita im avdecha. I have become small from all of the greatness and the kindness that you have given me. So Rashi explains, b'makom mevayer shebemila katanti. What does it mean, katanti? I have become small. Minamek Yaakov Avinu alav shalom et hasiba begina umityareh me'esav. He is explaining to the Ribono Shalom why he's afraid of Esav. Right? Umadua ein hu samuch al ha'avtacha shehivtiach lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and why he's not necessarily relying on the promise that God gave him, b'tzeito me'eretz Yisrael, when he left Eretz Yisrael. Remember, he said to him, "V'hinei anochi imach, I'm with you. Ushmarticha, I'm going to protect you. B'chol asher telech, wherever you go. V'hashviticha el ha'adama hazot, I'm going to return you back to this land. Ki lo azavcha, I will not leave you. Ad asher im asiti et asher dibarti lecha, until I do what I promised I'm going to do for you." This is what God said. So Yaakov is saying why he doesn't believe this is going to happen. He's not questioning Ribono Shalom. That's not what he's saying. He means that because of why he says lechura me'achar v'ivtiach HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yaakov Avinu sheyishmor alav, after God promised that he's going to guard him, v'yashivo to l'Eretz Yisrael, he's going to take him back to Eretz Yisrael. Lo haya alav lachshosh b'vnei. So what is he afraid of Yosef for? The Ribono Shalom told him, I'm going to take you, I'm going to save you, I'm going to be with you, I'm going to take you back. Chashash. So here's what he meant by katanti. I became small. He was afraid. Zemen amek Yaakov bekach shehu yarei mikach shenisma'atu zechiotai al yedei chasadim va'emet she'asita imei. Because all the good things that you did for me, I lost my power. You know, you did so much for me, so I've become weakened. I don't have that spiritual power anymore. Maybe you've done so much for me. I'm very much at the mercy of Esav. L'kachana yirei. That's why I'm afraid. Shema shemisha hivtachatani nitkalkalti bechet. That maybe, I have my sins are going to come out here. V'yigram li hameschar biyad Esav, hamesar lihimaser biyad Esav, that I'm going to fall to Esav. No, that's what he meant. That's what he genuinely meant. That maybe he has no schusim, and maybe his sins are whatever those sins are. They're dominant, and my schuyot from you are minimal. L'churi yesh davar ma tamua. So he's davening to the Rebbeinu Shalom. I have schuyot. Help me with my schuyot. You promised me, so let me, do something for me. L'churi yesh davar ma tamua b'chshash shemavia Yaakov Avinu. There's something very strange about this fear that Yaakov had. Im yesh b'kocham shel avonot levatelet tokfa shel havtacha. If sin has the ability to cancel out a promise from the Rebbeinu Shalom, Shivtiach LaKodesh Baruch Hu, Mashmesh Yaakov Savur, so it means that Yaakov held, Sha'avtacha zu bolo milechatchila b'schut zchuyotav, that the promise came because he was a good guy, because he did the right thing, because he did good things, therefore he was deserving of the Rebbeinu Shalom's protection, right? Right? Because I'm a good person, so you protect me. That's what he seems to be saying. Right? He's saying now that I did have chatoyim, maybe, therefore you've taken this away. So here's the question. Ha'im rashai adam la'aniach shu zakai mitzad atzmo l'chasadav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Does a person really have the right to say that I am deserving of the Rebbeinu Shalom doing something for me? Right? I am deserving of the Rebbeinu Shalom doing something for me. What did I do wrong? This is, sometimes people think this way. I remember many, many years ago, I got a call. Somebody passed away in the community. They were not members of the Kehillah, really, but they called, they lived there. The father died. If I can come, so I went, whatever we had to do for the funeral. And when I came in to meet with the family, so how old was he? He was 98 years old, right? And then the daughter started screaming, "What did he do wrong? What did we do wrong that he died? Why should he die? Why did God take him from us?" Right? So, and during the course of the discussion, they asked me, and then the doorbell rang. And in came Pizza Hut, but not Pizza Hut in Netanya or wherever it happens to be kosher. Pizza Hut came in for everybody, right? And then they asked me questions. So one said, when do we put the pebbles into our shoes by the funeral? Like something that they remembered, right? If you don't have non-shoes, you put stones in the shoes, right? This was important. Then Pizza Hut came, whatever, and to question the Rebbeinu Shalom that this 98-year-old man, what chutzpah, God took him away from us, right? So it seems to be that Yaakov Avinu has lowered himself to this kind of an idea, right? That maybe I should be deserving of your goodness. That originally it came because he deserved it. That's the question. Is a person allowed to conclude that he is deserving of the goodness of Hashem because of what he's done? Ha'im hanachazu eno omeret b'stira kaviyachol lemidat ha'anava shel Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu was a modest person, right? Doesn't this fly in the face of humility? Right? We're supposed to be humble. So how can somebody have this? It seems that Yaakov is presenting this kind of a arrogated idea that I'm deserving, right? But a humble person doesn't think that way, right? I'm really not deserving, right? So what's the pshat? How do we understand this? So what's he doing? What's going on? So the Vilna Gaon, the next paragraph. Al nakuda zu omer agon mi Vilna. So the Vilna Gaon discusses this. V'hu mechalek bein hoda al l'sha'avar. He distinguishes between an event in the past, lebein bakasha al ha'atid, and a request for the future. In other words, I can recognize, a humble person can recognize that everything that he happened to do this for me, for whatever reason, he did it for me. I'm not asking for it, but he felt, the Rebbe Shalom felt that I was deserving. But I can't go in the future and ask him now, Rebbe Shalom, do something for me because I am who I am. The fact that in the past it happened, it could be the Rebbe Shalom did this because maybe I did certain things the right way. I never asked for it. But I can't add, there's a difference about asking for something in the future because of who I think I am, right? Achein ein pasul b'kach shadam. So it's nothing wrong. Shadam b'dargato shel Yaakov Avinu, someone on a level of Yaakov Avinu, makir, he understood b'kach she'et hachesed she'ha'anik lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that the love that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him, ha'anik lo b'schut atzmo, that he was deserving of it, you know? Look, Moshe Rabbeinu was anav mikol adam. He was the most modest person in the world. What does that mean, right? Does that mean that he didn't know who he was? No. I'll give you a more contemporary example of Moshe ad Moshe, but Rav Moshe Feinstein, who was the great Posek Hador, the halachic authority for our generation, right? When he started writing his thousands of tshuvas, when he started in the first volume, he wrote, why am I writing this? Who am I? Who am I to answer shilas like this, right? But I see that nobody is answering these questions. And people are asking me. I have no choice. I've got to answer the questions, right? I've got to answer the questions, right? Now, Moshe Feinstein was a tremendously humble person. I mean, I want to tell you a story I heard from my Rebbe once that it was a little boy that came from Eretz Yisrael. They were living in the Lower East Side. And there were three or four kinds of rabbonim in those days. Rabbis didn't get a salary. So his father had a shiloh on a chicken. And my Rebbe was a little boy, maybe 11 years old, and he sent him to get it, to answer the shiloh, right? So he goes into the first Rav, and the Rav is sitting with a Gemara, and there's a plate in front of him. And he pushes the plate towards the little boy, to put money in the plate, right? And until he hears the jingle of the money in the plate, he doesn't stop learning. And once he hears it, he starts answering the question, right? There's he said, there's another kind of Rav in the East Side. He said, this is, you can't make this up. That you came into him and there was a plate there. And he answered the question, and then he pushed the plate in front of you. He said, there was only one Rav on the Lower East Side when he was growing up that didn't have a plate, and that was Rav Moshe Feinstein, right? That was Rav Moshe Feinstein. So did Rav Moshe know that he was a humble person? Of course he knew he was a humble person, right? Humility is not like I'm a nebuch. Humility is that's not you're not a nebuch, I'm a nobody, right? You know who you are. And afal pikein, you conduct yourself in such a way that, whatever I am, I can be much bigger, and I don't have to show anybody else what I've accomplished, right? So there's nothing wrong with someone assuming that, well, maybe it's because I did answer all these shilas that the Rebbeinu Shalom is doing something, right? Amnam, Gam Adam ke Yaakov, but this same person, Yaakov, he can expect that maybe something happened to me because I do have zchuyot, right? But the same Yaakov Avinu tzarich lahargish chesed chaser kaasher hu nigash liitpalel levakesh me'HaKadosh Baruch Hu avur atid. But this same Yaakov has to be very, when he comes to daven to the Rebbe Shalom, to ask him for something in the future, that's how he has to come, not with his list of accomplishments, but he has to come with his request in a sense of humility. V'lo levakesh mikoach zechuyotav shalom, and not to ask for because of his zechuyot, because of all his accomplishments. So in the past, yes, there's nothing wrong with saying maybe it's because of certain things that I've done. Okay, fine, but I'm not asking for that, and I never did. But to ask for it in the future, that's a no-no. And he gives a powerful example with David Melech Yisrael. Zui Lamaisa. And this part, first he says, Mahuta shel tefillah. This is the essence of tefillah. This is the essence of davening. Lu hayinu ba'im levakesh me'HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If we were coming to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, mikoach zechuyotenu, because of who we are, Hare shahatfila haita miyuteret, right? That what do you need tefillah for? Shahakodesh Hare Kodesh Baruch Hu dayan emet. God knows everything. Ve'eno mekapeach schar kol beria uberi. He doesn't keep away reward from anybody. If somebody's deserving. Kodesh Baruch Hu is dayan emet. He's the faithful judge. He's going to pay me. Kol inyan nashal hatefillah. The essence of tefillah hu hachidush. Bekach she'anachnu yecholim lefanot el HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tefillah is an amazing thing. It's the chiddush, it's the nuance that I have a right, that anybody has the right to come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, gam kasher anachnu be'etzem chaserim, even though I'm talking nobody. Who am I deserving to come and ask the Rebbe for anything, right? You know, a child messes up with their parents and they're punished. Will he? It's hard for him to start asking for his father or his mother. Can I borrow the car? Right? I'm not deserving of this. Right? So that's the miracle of tefillah, that I'm lacking. Who am I to come to the Rebbe? Yet I can come to the Rebbe. I can ask him. Ulevakesh mimenu sheyashpia aleinu tova, and ask HaKadosh Baruch do something good for me. Ma'acher shezeu ratzono shelo, right? Because I know, Rabbi, it's up to you, and I'm asking you to do this. Hashpat hatova elea anachnu miyahalim amura linvoa min ha. Interesting. In other words, it has nothing to do with who we are, really. The ability to the Rebbe Shem will deal with us the way He wants to deal with us. Kaviyachal shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'birya. He'll decide. V'lo mikoach matzavein, not because of me. Haruchani bilvad, not because of my spirituality. Me'asiba azu. From this reason, anu chotmim b'chol bracha u'bracha. I'm a little premature here. We're going to see David HaMelech soon. Therefore, we answer each bracha at hashevach shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu anogeh l'ota bracha. When we conclude each bracha in the Shemona Esrei, we conclude it with a praise. Goel Yisrael, you are the Redeemer of Israel. Rofei Choli Yisrael, you are the healer of sick people. I ask for healing. I ask you to heal somebody, heal myself, heal somebody else, heal all the people who are sick. Kol Cholim, right? But in the end, I say at the end the Shevach, a praise, because you are the Rofei Cholim. Halkol Kodesh Baruch mitzad atzmo mo'onyan limchol aleinu l'rapa'oto, because of you, ligol otanu. It's who you are. That's why I'm coming to you, Rebbe Shem. You are the Redeemer. You are the healer, and therefore I come to you. Rafeoto, ligol otanu. Shahare ratzon lahitiv imanu mitchaye b'chol otam shvachim shanu mitzaynim. We're asking you to do what you can do. That's not because of me. That's not why I'm coming. Okay. So that's what happened to you. Did I skip over something? No. Okay, now the next. I'm sorry. Yes, I have to. I didn't apologize to you that this was all cut out, right? What just read to you. So I was reading it. I saw that this morning and I quickly copied it for myself. Okay, now Hadvarim halalu, the final column. Hadvarim halalu mitchabrim im mashem avur begemora. This fits in very well to a story with David Melech Yisrael, right? And Shlomo HaMelech, really. Mashem avur begemora, it's a Gemara in Shabbos. Shekasher bar Shlomo HaMelech, when Shlomo came, lahachnis et ha'aron l'kodesh hakadoshim. He was dedicating the Beit HaMikdash, right? And he was going to bring the Aron into the Kodesh Kadoshim, into the Sanctum Sanctorum, the Holy of Holies, right? And he davened to Hashem, Dafku sha'arim zeh b'zeh. He said, Dafku sha'arim zeh b'zeh. Not he davened, but the gates, the doors of the Aron were Dafku sha'arim zeh b'zeh. They were stuck together. Couldn't open them. And he couldn't get in. He couldn't open up the Aron. The Gemara Mavur, so the Gemara says, Sha'amar Shlomo, that what did he say? Shlomo, he started to daven. Amar Shlomo Esrim va'arba rananot v'lo ne'eneh. He said 24 tefillot to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he wasn't answered. 24 times he davened to Rosh Hashanah, open the doors of the Aron Kodesh. V'rak lebesaf, only at the end. Kasher Amar Shlomo HaMelech, when Shlomo said, Zichra lechaste David avdecha. Remember the love of my father, because really I finished the job. This is really not me. It's not my Beit HaMikdash. It's David, my father's Beit HaMikdash. So Zichra lechaste of David avdecha. Then he was right. It's not about me. So he spent 24 tefillahs. Open it for me, right? No. L'chura hatzorach shel Shlomo HaMelech lehishaen al zchuyotav shel aviv tzorach biur. Why did Shlomo rely on the zchuyot of his father David? Right? Why did that work? Right? Hari bizmano shel Shlomo. Listen, Shlomo was no Shlomo HaMelech. Higia klal Yisrael lemadregat si ba'avodat Hashem. In the historical period of Shlomo HaMelech, klal Yisrael was at the pisgah, the pinnacle of spirituality. Utkufato shel Shlomo HaMelech mechuneh bechazal, this is in the Zohar, in Ha'azinu, siara ba'ashlamuta, meaning levana b'milua, the full moon. Klal Yisrael were the full moon, right? Right? That's why we Birchad HaChodesh, the moon waxes and wanes, right? It's because we are not imperfect people, and we have the ability to get better, and that's the Rebbeinu Shalom is one of the things that the Rebbeinu Shalom is reminding us of, right? But the period of Shlomo HaMelech is the full moon, right? It has everything. But I just want to throw something in which has nothing to do with this. But somebody asked me a question by Kiddush Levana last week in a different hemisphere. I was doing Kiddush Levana, and he asked me, why do we say Aleinu at the end of Kiddush Levana? What do you say Aleinu for? Good question, right? I want to go home, right? Where do we go? Okay, I'll dance, but what? So I don't want the answer is that people, and I had this experience once. Somebody asked me many years ago, Rabbi, I was driving by the shul on Saturday night, and I see people out there by the cars, and some of them are banging on the cars. They're out there, and they're looking up at the moon. Well, what's going on? Is this moon worship? That's exactly the point. That people shouldn't think that we are worshiping the Kohavim and that the Kodesh Baruch Hu created. So we end off by saying Aleinu L'Shabech. That's why we say Aleinu L'Shabech. Okay, so now back to the ranch. So here, this is why did he go to Shlomo HaMelech? Didn't need David HaMelech zchuyot to open up the Beit HaMikdash, the Kodesh Kedoshim. So me'achar ba'otam hayamim mitziutam shel klal Yisrael shenimshu levana hayta b'shlemut. Shlomo HaMelech atzmo zacha liyot hachacham mikol adam. Shlomo HaMelech himself was chacham mikol adam, the wisest person, right? Lo ne'eneh b'schuto shel David HaMelech aviv. Why does it have to open? Because of the zchuyot of David HaMelech, right? And I just, in the next paragraph, I wrote here, Ba'ofen domeh. Similarly, Hayamitzayin Bal HaPachad Yitzchak, Rav Hutner writes, Shetkufato shel Shlomo HaMelech mechuneh Gaon Yaakov. It's referred to as Gaon Yaakov, right? The great period of the fulfillment of Yaakov Avinu, right? Minoach zeh misamelet ha'uvda Im Yisrael higia betkufat Shlomo lepiskat romamuto ba'olam, the highest level, right? Bala Pachad Yitzchak Bi'er, the Hutner writes, shebetkufat Shlomo Im Yisrael, the historical period of Shlomo HaMelech, zachal lekaymet taryag mitzvahs kulam b'shlemut, right? All 613 mitzvahs. Beit HaMikdash amad al tilo. You had the Beit HaMikdash. Hukruvu kol al karbonot. B'nosaf to Kufat Malchuto Shel Shlomo Tzivinu b'Shalva u'b'Shalom. There was peace. V'chein haNevua adayin b'dat hasaga. Right? There was prophecy. So you had everything in the time of Shlomo. There's one thing missing, right? One thing missing. What was missing for Shlomo HaMelech? Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Shlomo zacha lechachma meruba v'gadlut. even though Shlomo was the wisest man alive at the time, who adayin bikesh od. Gemara says, "V'rotze la'agi ledargat doro shel Moshe Rabbeinu, hamachuna dor deya." The generation of Moshe Rabbeinu, the generation of the desert, is known as dor deya, the generation of wisdom, of knowledge, and he lacked. That's the one thing that he didn't have. With everything else he had, right? Kameazu shel Shlomo merumezes b'shmo. This idea is hinted in Shlomo's name. Shlomo li Moshe. The word Shlomo, if you take the letters, it's li Moshe. Shlomo wanted to be like Moshe. That's be'etzim who he was. With all of his greatness, he was li Moshe. Zaya kol ma'uto shel Shlomo hakemea lahasik shlemot nosefet. He wanted more. He wanted it more, right? In a good way, right? After saying all this is said and done, Gam Shlomo Melech b'chol muto bikesh rak b'schut aviv David. So now he's coming to ask in the schut of David that the door should open, and it worked, right? Because maybe what he was asking at first, based on himself, maybe that's not so good. Zeu gam ha'ofen ha'mavur gam bo Rosh Talmid Chacham lachush gaiva. So this is the idea that we've been expressing here, right? That it's not like the Vilna Gaon had said. There's nothing wrong. Yaakov Avinu is not coming to the Rebbeinu Shalom and asking him. I can recognize in the past what you did for me, but in the future, I'm not asking for myself. I can recognize that what you did for me, perhaps I have schuyot, but in the future, the Gaon says, I have no right to ask because of myself. And maybe that was the problem until now. So when he asked for David HaMelech, right, that was okay. And then we conclude here just with one little thing here. Zeu gama ofen amavur bo rashoy talmid chacham. This also relates to the fact that a talmid chacham, a Torah scholar, has to be very careful. Achush l'gaiva has to stay away from arrogance, right? Kimavur b'chazal, the Gemara and Sota. Talmid chacham tzarich shiebo, but he has to have a little bit of an arrogance. Well, we spoke all the examples of Moshe Feinstein, we said before, Moshe Rabbeinu earlier, right? So, but he has to have, sheyebo echad mishmona shebishminit shebegaiva. 1/64, 1/8 of an eighth. 1/8 of an eighth of arrogance. So I can say like what happened to me in the past, Rebbeinu Shalom, maybe it's because of, right? Mutar letalmid chacham la'azkir bekach shu zacha l'ma shezacha b'schut ma'asav hatovim. Maybe there a little bit, whatever you did for me, it has a little bit to do with what I did, right? Ach, allo lehisha'ein aleim u'levakesh mehem gam la'aba. But you have no right to lean on those accomplishments and ask the Rebbeinu Shalom for the future. That's the Gra. L'gemara zu matzah hagra remez, and the Gra has a hint to this, right? It's beautiful. B'uvda shehapasuk bo patachnu et dvarenu. The pasuk that we started out this essay with, right? Katanti mikol hachasadim. I became small, right? That's what he's saying. I became small from all of the goodness you did me. I mean, a humbling statement, right? Katanti mikol hachasadim hu hapasuk hashmini. It's the 8th verse. Shel haparsha hashminit b'tchilat haTorah, of the 8th parsha of the Torah Vayishlach. So it's 1/64. That's the Vilna Gaon. That's the Vilna Gaon, right? Okay. Thank you all for your patience.